This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Pierre Novelli. You can text the show on 81215. Follow us on X. Is it still called that? And Instagram at Frank on the Radio. But you can't block us on X because he stopped the blocking thing. And email via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Any of those would be lovely because we love to hear from you and we're a long way from home.
We are.
You know how far we are from home?
Come.
Do you know how far? This far. We are in a marvellous place where this is a constant soundtrack to our lives. In the street, in our own homes. Bagpipe music comes a-creeping. I think this is a bagpipe? I think it's fiddle. Anyway, it's lovely. We're all having a fabulous time. I think it's true.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, but England, if I may say this, in a sealed room in Edinburgh, are in the World Cup final, which is very, very exciting indeed.
Frank, how do you feel? Because I do trust your spidey senses.
Well, I keep analysing myself because when I started watching the women's football team about 10 years ago, because my partner wouldn't watch men's football, so I thought I'm going to have to watch this stuff. And I started to get into it. And
Very
I thought,
forward-thinking of you.
I know, well, that's what I was like. And you have to, if you're a bloke watching women's football, you have to constantly keeping an eye that you're not just trying to be very modern.
Yeah.
I'm not like a guy who's, doing yoga to meet girls. I don't want to be that guy. And I was in the flat the other day on my own and started really punching the air and screaming during a game. And I thought, it's happened. I'm actually properly, sincerely enjoying it now. So I texted Matt Ford and said, watch the game today. And I realised maybe it was a stance before, but now I'm really feeling it. He said, yeah, that's what all woke people say. So, okay. Okay. But I think I'm pretty convinced it's the real deal.
Woke Frank.
Yeah.
And, there's all this. I mean, I love Serena, the boss, who they made a big thing today that she said, I feel like I'm living in a fairy tale. But I saw that interview after the match, and she did say that, but in the tone of, I'm living in a 3-star hotel in Great Yarmouth. There was none of that reality, I'm living the dream. That's not in her
I
game.
love her steely underbelly.
So
I've never seen her steely underbelly.
not?
I tell you what I love about her. When she was a player, she was a brilliant player, which is never mentioned. She got like over 100 caps.
Yeah.
But she played for KFC 71, and I want to find out more. I want to find out more about that team. Were they sponsored by the Colonel?
Do they wear white with a little black tie?
I really hope
But
they
the
do.
tie would be painted onto the kit, obviously.
You couldn't just... Although Leeds United, in the old days, used to have sock ties, which were elaborate little things with their numbers on them.
On their socks?
Yeah, so that hang... I think that up here in Scotland, in Highland dress, when you put your socks on, there's a thing hanging below the sock.
Flashes.
Yes.
Yeah, and there were those also.
With a kilt.
Yes, but we don't talk about those
Always a
anymore.
risk.
And Man United had those medieval bar tops as well, the crisscross affair.
Oh, yeah, sort of Robin Hood men in goal. Yeah.
Men in goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting, and I've actually changed my church going so it doesn't clash with the game.
Oh.
But I've had to go to a vigil mass. I mean, that's true love.
The church must have leeway for that, given how big they are in South America.
Yeah, the Catholic Church, still when you hear priests talk, they always talk about the Irish team. Even if they're not Irish. It's Catholic Church is so aligned to all that. But I tell you what I did here. I heard...
Sorry.
How old it? We
I
usually
got
have...
distracted, Frank.
We usually have a fez held up to signify that time is up, as our regular readers will know. But today we actually have a tam o'shanter.
And what a tam o'shanter. Yeah, but you haven't said the best thing about the tam o'shanter.
Well, it's
what
one
is
of those-
attached to it, Frank?
It's one of those things that comes with hair.
Sort of inherent wig.
Obviously, I'm anxious here about cultural acquisition, but it is ginger, and as the father of a ginger, I feel I can celebrate it. And we have a ginger assistant producer today. We
You
are.
sound like a Labrador. We have a ginger assistant producer as well. Which reader did you go to?
I always say, although I am not ginger myself, I'm a champion of gingers, just like Joanna Lumley and the Gurkhas. That's how I do it.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Frank, I'll tell you who definitely thinks it's coming home. What about Brian Blessed?
Yes, that was, in case you didn't
was
see,
quite something.
Brian Blessed did a recitation of 3 lines set to... was it set to music? It's hard to tell with Brian Blessed. It could have been the reverberation of the inner sanctums of the building.
It was hauntingly not set to music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? I watched it and it could have been set to music. It's so loud.
Yeah.
Well, I was listening to it for, I think it was about the 14th time last night in my hotel room, and I had to frantically keep pressing the decrease sound button on my laptop because I was genuinely worried about people next door. So, will you please keep the noise down?
Yeah, it was. What must it be like in his flat? He can't live in a flat. He must live on an estate. He must have egg boxes on the walls.
I think he has to move every time he sneezes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was.
So I
it was
have
very fine.
questions.
Go on.
Did you like it?
I did like it. I liked it better than. I don't know if you saw Derek Jacobi doing Sweet Caroline on Channel 4 News. No, that didn't happen.
I was so ready to be convinced.
That didn't
He
happen.
went, sweet Caroline.
Yes.
Well-
Good times never seem so good.
Well, what I like about the renditions, as we'll call them, is the way that they try and make them quite conversational. Brian went very sort of...
Henry V.
It was Henry V, but it was also slight sort of 70s play for today.
He also said Jules Rimini, which is obviously we had a
Jules
flashback to some
Rimini.
Italian family holiday.
I think he also said Jules.
I think you'll find he went, Rule, Jaime.
But it was great. I mean, it's
Oh, I loved him, but I like that it sounded, he really brought the dialogue to life, Frank. He
thanks
said-
very much.
Everybody said, everyone seems to know the score, they're so sure.
No, yeah, I know it was. You should check it out, guys. It's something.
Do you think when he came off, he said to the floor manager, do you think it was a bit big or it was all right? I always think you should play these things absolutely straight.
No, I don't think he's ever said to anyone, do you think that was a bit big?
He is at risk of shattering the steel girders that hold that building up when he's doing it towards the end. And then he did a sort of he went high pitched at the end.
Well, he sort of did a Come On England or something at the end. He did a big scream.
He
But
did
but he went high.
He went animalistic. It was a howl of
Animalistic, that's what he went.
Just when you think you can predict Blessed, he goes high instead of low.
I've never thought I could predict Blessed.
passion. Frank,
What
would
was
his
he like
auto-
a whisper? What was his sweet nothings like in his courting days?
Oh, just an ear completely torn off. for a
Oh
bit.
man! The other thing with that, with the semi-final victory, was after it. Serena Wiegmann gets the crowd gets the team and all the staff in like a big loose huddle and gives them gives them a Henry V speech. And then they interviewed Lucy Bronze, who is I know Pierre looks a bit like who, she's like a tough
Yeah.
defense. Actually, her middle name is Tough.
Yeah.
It really is, which
Right.
is, yeah. I know. It's the best nominative determinism ever
Yeah.
because she's like a real hard woman. A woman of steel, considering she's called Bronze. And they interviewed her after and they said, oh, what was Serena saying? Looked really like moving and motivational. What she said? She said, oh, I couldn't really hear it.
Yeah.
Oh. So I'm glad women footballers also have that power to bring down the poetic moment, just like the guys.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I went to see a lady. I've been there before. No, I went to see a clown Tuesday night called. Do you know a pièce called Andrea Spisto?
I know the name. I haven't seen the clown myself.
And,
you two and your exclusive clown club. Do you
so
know
we got.
Pierre?
I went with
One clown a month. Clown club.
I've done 2 clowns this week.
I spoke to Frank. He said, "Yeah, I've got a lot of clowns to see this week."
Yeah, I think it's sometimes I'm feeling clowny.
That's the sort of sentence that you'd expect from a sort of debt collector in a 70s cop drama. Got a lot of clowns to see this week.
Yeah,
This clown.
George Clowney. That's what they call me.
Oh God.
So
Are these clowns? Can I just establish? I want to hear all about the clowns. But can I establish what sort of clowns
I'm going to do one. I'm only going to do one clown at a time. One clown at a time, sweet Jesus. Everybody, come on at home. That's all I'm asking of you. Go on, ask me the clown question.
Well, are the clowns? Are they the sort of the plastic wig with the red hair?
No,
Stephen King.
These are the modern clowns.
But the modern clowns, so they don't. That's what concerns me a bit, is that they're not identifiable in any way, are they?
No, well,
flowers in the
they've
back
all
pocket
been-
and
they've
the
all
glitter
been-
when they press the horn on the car.
they don't do any of that. No, Carl. They've all been to France.
Yes.
That's what they've
I
done.
know these clowns.
and they've trained with is it Goulier?
Yes, Goulier.
There's different teams. Team clowns.
Gaulier and Lecoq.
Yeah.
Is it
Like
different?
I don't understand of him.
like when David Bowie went to Lindsay Kemp in the 70s. I don't know if you remember that.
Okay.
So they were both. I saw 2 in a night. They were both ladies. In fact, is that true? One, the blurb said neurodiverse immigrant queer clown.
Sure.
That was the first one. So that was Andrea.
That's half the programme at the Fringe.
Yeah, and I got in, and they said to me, "Can you move right to the front, please?" And it was her opening night, and I thought, well, maybe there'll only be a front row. Maybe she, I didn't know her stuff. So of course it filled up, and I'm in the front row with Mary, who I work with, and we're in the front row. And I said, "How did this happen that we're in the front row? This will. I mean, it's a clown. They're not going to come on and do a sort of bedroom mirror monologue." So she came on to everybody says I'm pretty white for a white guy. You know that song?
Oh, yes.
She came on in a big nappy, a massive baby's nappy, with all these bottles. And then she handed bottles out, like baby's bottles, one to Mary. And when it went, "Give it to me, baby," people had to feed her with milk. That was how it started. Anyway, that was Mary. I thought, so far, so good. and then Mary became a character in the play. Got a name, was given a name in it.
How were you feeling inwardly?
I'm just thinking, as we all think, the "I'm glad it's you" and not me.
Yeah.
I couldn't work out whether she was mortified or secretly enjoying it, with everyone who's called into a show.
Oh, this
like
is it.
that. But then she had to get up and play air bass on stage. I mean, she was in it. Afterwards, people were coming up, they're walking straight past me and going up to Mary and saying, "I thought you were great, Michael." Yeah, she was. Yeah, she told me the next day somebody stopped her in Edinburgh and said, "I thought you were great in Andreas Vista." So yeah, a star is born.
Gosh.
But something happened in the show which I have to tell you about, because it was remarkable to me, and I'm still reliving it now. So I'll tell you after this.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So take us to the clowns.
We're in Clown Town.
Yeah, so bear in mind it's about 11 o'clock at night, maybe after 11.
Oh,
now.
late
We're
night clowns.
We're in a small studio theatre. The clown now has us in a grip. She was great. It's one of these people who felt like she might be the spawn of the devil, and then would do a really big smile that made you go, "Oh." Anyway, she put this band together of all air instruments. And she said, "We need a drummer." And this guy was really keen to get up. And he said, "Oh, yeah. She said, "Okay, up you come." And he said, should I put my shades on? I thought, he's got props. He's got props for it.
Oh, he's come prepared.
Anyway, what he hadn't made allowances for is that the word stage generally implies some sort of raised platform. And I think he thought she was at floor level. So he ran really fast to get on stage, and man, he went down hard.
No.
I heard the... You know that moment when the air leaves and the sound of him hitting the ground was... I mean, the whole place gasped.
Was it like a full pancake sort of onto chest?
It was like a heavy canvas bag full of wooden spoons being
I know that
thrown
one.
hard at the floor. That was the sound. And even the clown sort of dropped out of her persona and said, "Are you all right?" It was sort of terrible. And he did that male thing again. Yeah, I'm fine. I watched it, and it was shocking. It was really shocking. He just went down with such velocity.
Did he continue with the... I mean, I've lost confidence in him as a
He
performer.
did, but he's
at this
playing
stage.
air drums, so he's got a moment to sort of get through it. But I remember thinking, nothing I see at the Fringe will be as thrilling as
Yeah.
that man falling over at such pace, so hard into the floor.
Do you think in the same way that when a member of the audience shouts a joke at us as stand-ups, that's like a heckle? It's sort of like heckling a clown to rush up and do your own incredible pratfall.
Yeah, I mean, it was the sort of pratfall you can read about on any good coroner's report.
Did he not make a joke of it?
No, and he couldn't breathe. And he still got his shades on, but it was...
He had his shades on.
It was shocking. The other thing, I was in Burkina Faso with Comic Relief, and we were in a village sort of... This was in the age when we hadn't noticed the white saviour thing was a bit... Anyway, we were in there, and there was
We
a
didn't know.
wooden overhanging thing, and I came striding out and hit my head really, really... Till it... You know that thing where they say see stars, but you actually do see something weird. And all the people of this village, who were living in terrible poverty, and the crop had been bad, and they really laughed. And some of them pointed at me and laughed in real
Cartoon
and you think,
fashion.
This is the international language of banging your head.
You're still discussed and handed down by the oral tradition.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I probably am. Yeah, it was. There's probably a model of wooden carving of me banging my enormous domed head, which they still speak of.
Talking of clowns, I saw some amazing... You know, sometimes if you see literature that's very... you see litter that's very sort of thematic for where you are.
Yes.
Like if you were to see the scarf of the losing team in the gutter outside the stadium, and you think, oh, yeah, that fits with what's happened.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was walking along the street in Edinburgh, and I saw in the gutter, along with a load of flyers and other litter, a clown's nose.
Oh,
And I just thought, yeah, it is the Fringe, isn't it?
that is. Do you think that's been thrown down in dismay?
I'll never equal that pratfall.
Exactly. Word's already got round the clown community about that guy.
Livid.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
But you may have noticed, by the way, that Pierre is a little bit gravelly today.
A little croaky.
Yeah, it's that time of the Fringe, is it?
That's right. A few weeks in, you start to go a little bit with a wear and tear. It's oft discussed among comics at this point, the home remedies, the solutions.
Yes.
All the obvious ones, chamomile tea, lemon and honey and all that.
They don't work.
Do they not?
In our house, my mum would get a spoonful of butter onto a spoon, put it in the sugar bowl till it was encrusted, and then we had to swallow that straight down, and that was supposed to do a sore throat.
Did it work?
Does anything work for a sore throat? I've had injections and sprays and all sorts.
Well, you know what my parents obviously recommended? Doctor Theatre.
Oh, yes.
But they'd say that to you and you'd say, I've got a tummy ache and you had a cycling proficiency test. Doctor Theatre, darling.
I don't think Dr. Theatre works for a throat. It works for everything else.
Yeah. I got a sort of home remedy from years ago from the comedian Fern Brady, who she's not at the Fringe this year, but she would lose her voice a week in every year without fail. So she's got this great sort of archive of eldritch remedies and marshmallows.
Oh, I think I've heard that one before.
One marshmallow right before you go on.
What about George Ezra told me about wearing wet socks?
Hey, that's a good one.
Yeah, that can't work, can it?
Are you sure he was giving you throat advice?
No, he definitely was. And Bob Down, remember Bob Down, the Australian?
Do you know who Bob Down is?
I do not.
Oh, we will tell you.
I remember
There's not much to say.
Dennis Leary described him as wearing a beige polyester leisure suit,
He wore like a safari suit, and he
singing Frank Sinatra songs.
he was a character comedian, wasn't he? With a sort of Aussie...
I don't know. I think he looked. We thought he was, and then we found out that's who he was.
It's real.
Yeah.
But he said pineapple juice. That was his thing.
Oh,
Did he?
interesting. Treat your throat like a sort of piece of gammon.
Yeah, exactly. That was when
Tenderise it.
gammon was a perfectly nice word in those days.
Yeah.
Summoned up ideas of a lovely little slice of ham, not a
Poor
raging
gammon.
man. Yeah, it's a shame.
Much maligned meat.
It
these
was,
days.
yeah. Yeah.
But I was wondering if anyone listening had any tips. Maybe there's some obscure home remedy from one of the listeners that could help
Friar's
me out.
balsam.
What
was
did
the
you call
thing
me?
we had in the
I'd get that
house.
scene to if I were you.
There's a thing we had in the house as a kid called Friar's balsam. I have no idea what it was.
I bet it's been banned now.
Yeah, probably.
It would have,
it's
right.
like matey. Probably had bleach in it. But it
Probably
was
had
a
nails in it.
thick black elixir.
Oh.
And I wonder how many Alexas has gone on then across the country.
Only in the very poshest of homes.
Must be-
Elixir.
Yeah, it must be very difficult. If alchemists have got Alexa, they must keep saying elixir. It must keep going, yes, what is it? No, it's an elixir. I'm nearly there with the gold. Don't interrupt me.
So it was thick black. Oh, I don't think it was.
If anyone,
passed.
so if you've got any home cures, is that what they're called? Home cures?
Yeah,
Home
home
remedies.
remedies.
Yeah, Tom
And
Jones
if- and
had
if you know
special
what-
sweets he used to
And
like.
if you know
didn't
what Friar's balsam is, let us know about that.
he? Yeah.
Yeah, thick black molasses.
Oh, like it's sort of gloopy. Was it administered with a spoon like cough syrup, or did you?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was administered.
Oh, it was
Don't worry about that. Don't have any threats of non-administration. No, it was. The fact that it's not on the market now does make me think they might have found
it's all-
terrible stuff. in
It's
it.
almost as if it wouldn't pass current Food and Drug Agency tests.
Yeah, those old spoil sports.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, live from Edinburgh. I'm with Emily Dean and Pierre Novelli. You can text the show on 81215. Follow us on X and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. And also, I have another thing to read. What about that? Tickets are on sale now for Absolute Radio Live at the London Palladium. We'll be creating, I'm reading this, we'll be creating the UK's biggest night of live comedy on Sunday, the 26th of November. All the profits from every ticket sold will go directly to Teenage Cancer Trust. Frank Skinner will be your host, and we'll tell you soon who he'll be joined by. I won't be telling you that because I have no idea who's on, but it's
I'm
always
going to that.
it's always a top-end bill. You can buy your tickets from absoluteradio.co.uk/tickets. So come along and have a laugh while raising money for a brilliant cause. Get them quick, it says in block capitals at the end. I think they are already selling. It's not till November the 26th.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even done my hair or anything.
It's a brilliant show. Well, it was last year, so get preparing, please, Frank
Yes.
Skinner.
Yeah.
So after I'd seen Andrea Spisto, I then went and saw another female clown. By now, it's midnight,
Gosh.
and I'm at Pierre's venue. I'm at Monkey Barrel. And This was a woman called Julia Masley. Are you familiar with her work?
Yes, Estonian.
In a very hot cellar. Yes, is it Estonian? Yeah.
Sorry,
And,
Frank, sorry to interrupt, but are you pretty much 70% clowns now in terms of
I've just had a clown week.
Okay. You say, I've just.
So Julia Masley wears an enormous hat, like the sorting hat from Harry Potter, and walks around with staring, very beautiful eyes. I think it's all right to say that because it's part of her power in the room. And her right arm is a sort of a metal lady's leg with a microphone in the end of it. And she walks up to people and goes, "Problem." And they have to tell her their problems. And then she endeavours to solve them. It's pretty good. And sometimes, like, she'll, I don't want to give away her act, but she'll go around going, and people go into the mic, and she smiles, and it's a lovely moment. But occasionally, she'll go, and the person goes, and she goes, really, they are terrible. And then everyone's frightened of doing the wrong. So there's tension in the room. But she was asking people their problems, and they included, I'm hot, I'm hungry, and I have IBS. Was another one.
It's a new Channel 5 show.
Yeah, exactly. So it's and she solves them. But one guy said he was missing his mum, so anyway, he ended up phoning his mum, and we all thought this will be a funny. But you've seen comedians do phone calls on stage, so Julia Masley, instead of going down like the comedy road, said, "Tell us about motherhood." So. So this woman says, well, it's a really marvellous thing, and it changed my life. And you just, you give your life to another person and all that sort of stuff. And
this is midnight.
Yeah, by now it's 1:15, and the clown's mascara is running with tears. It's like a real wow. The steam there's like condensation on the walls. The clown's crying. Some woman somewhere in England is saying motherhood's really special, really special. And her son, she sounds very emotional, but it is late. And her son says, "Oh, by the way, Frank Skinner's in the room." Don't bring that up now. Keep me out of this. And then Julia Masley says, "My mother is here tonight. I want to talk to her." And she said, "Mother, what do you think of me?" She said that. And her mother said, "I think you're a genius." And she said, "Why did you say that? I don't want you to say that." And it was like it was absolutely balmy.
Oh my Lord.
But brilliant. I really felt after like I'd been through a very special experience. So if you are up here, I would go and check it out.
I really want to go to this clown.
I know a clown called Dr. Brown, and he used to do workshops. And he said, I remember he said to me, "Yeah, but the trouble is you get stand-ups turning up, they've brought their ideas, their stupid verbal ideas." And I thought, wow. So it's it's a cult thing now, the clown thing.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, kids, you're going to have to go to France. That's all I'm saying.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I had my hair cut this week, can you tell?
I was actually going to compliment you because it's got a lovely A. Houseman vibe.
Thank you. It's it's a good one. I went to a place called Cots with a Z.
Oh.
Yes, I thought
on South Bridge, and I was sitting to wait. There was a lady doing the haircuts.
How much?
And there was a man in the chair. Have a guess.
Oh, I don't know what to
£16.
I was going to go 14.
Yeah, okay.
But 16, I think you got good value for money.
Yeah, anyway, a man came into the shop and said, "Sorry, I just saw you sitting there. I just wanted to come in and shake your hand." So I said, "Hello, nice to meet you," and all that. And he went out again. And this woman said to me, are you famous or is he a friend of yours? And I said, and I thought I can't say I am famous. No. And then the bloke in the chair, who was a bloke I suppose about my age, who looked like a hard man, like a local hard man, said he's a very big magician. And she went, oh, and I thought, oh no, where have you taken me, mate? And she said, will you suddenly just jump up and disappear? Is that what you might? And I said, yeah. And I thought, am I going to run with this or am I going to? He looks a bit frightened. I don't want to argue with him.
You've got to go, whatever he's saying, I'm going along with it at this point.
I know, but he's giving her expectations which I can't fulfill. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end, there was a debate about cash only, and I felt she slightly tilted her head as if she wanted me to take it from behind her ear.
Oh, yeah.
And I never fully... she kept saying, so what's the show like? And I said, well, it's a comedy. It's actually comedy. And she said, oh, it's funny as well. And I thought, oh, no. And she was really waiting for me to do a bit of magic. You could use that for the
poster, Frank. Funny as well.
Funny as well, yeah. But how did I get into that?
That's a great hospital pass from that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that guy.
Who did he think I was?
I think he just thought... I think he saw the space for mischief.
No, he didn't look like a mischief kind of a guy.
Did he mistake you? Maybe
he looked like a headlock kind of a guy. Someone who might put someone in a headlock and then walk them around for a whole weekend before he released them.
You don't think there's a possibility that he mistook you for a magician?
I'd say that is possible.
If so, which magician? 8, 12, 15?
Ali Bongo. Have you seen Ali Bongo's sort of thick horn rimmed spectacles?
It could be Copperfield.
I was introduced to Ali Bongo once. I was in my dressing room at the BBC, a knock came on the door and it was Paul Daniels. He said, I want to show you my set. I think you'll like it. And he took me in and he said, oh, here's Ali Bongo. And I was introduced on the way. It's a fabulous passage of play.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Pierre was asking for sore throat remedies.
Yeah.
And our readers have delivered.
Oh, yeah. Tremendous.
They always do, don't they? John Hopkins.
Hopkins?
One of our regulars. I certainly won't be offended if he doesn't try it. This is to you, Pierre. But my nan used to swear by placing a piece of raw liver across her throat when she slept at night.
Oh, how did she secure it?
This...
I suppose with a nan you could just put it into one of the folds. And the next morning you wouldn't be able to tell what was liver and what was old throat. That's the only problem.
Right.
Would sort of tuck it in like...
It's all right, I've got an old throat.
like saying someone has an old soul.
It is.
He's got an old throat.
I find a turkey throat is for life, not just for Christmas.
Well, John continues. This also, very good, this also might explain why my granddad slept in the spare room.
Yeah.
And John ends with the slightly...
But our 3 dogs all slept in with Grandma.
How do you think I get Ray to stay on my bed? And John ends off with, on a slightly sinister note, Frank, bon voyage, Pierre.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, have a voyage.
A suggested cure for an awfully sore throat.
Oh, very, very fine.
And that's how I got sent home from the fringe.
Yeah, exactly. Not sent, taken.
Taken.
Yeah. Ultra Magnus, again, our regulars are all coming to the rescue here. Old Ma Magnus's, even older Grandma Magnus, recommends the following home remedy. Teaspoon of sugar, pure lemon juice, honey, paracetamol, topped with hot water, and get this, our White's lemonade. Our White's lemonade.
Our White's lemonade.
That's a great impression. Very niche.
Well, it was the song was done by Elvis Costello's dad, who I interviewed, and you realise when you hear that, this is an old advert, in case you don't know it, for a lemonade, and a guy would get up at night like some sort of drug addict in his desperation for Our White's lemonade, and he'd say, I'm a secret lemonade drinker. Oh, wait. And he did, It did sound like Elvis
He said, I'm
Costello.
trying to give it up, but it's one of those nights. Yeah, sure, it was lemonade.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. But at the end, he goes, oh, it's lemonade. And you just think, God, Elvis has inherited his father's voice completely. I interviewed Elvis Costello's dad about that
Did
very
you?
advert. Yeah.
Well, do you know, it's the last time it represented the end of those men in those pyjamas. You know, the flannel, the stripy pyjamas.
Yes. Well, there was Freddie Fingers, was it, in the Boomtown Rats? The keyboard player used to wear those pyjamas on stage all the time.
Did your dad ever have a
Was it Johnny
Pierre?
Fingers? Something, one of the fingers. One of the Berkshire fingers, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I think they were distantly related to Tom Thumb. I could be wrong.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I was in a restaurant in Edinburgh. Do you know Ox 184?
I have walked past it.
It's very nice. And I was in there, and a woman said to me, older, I mean, I say older, like in my age group, said, are you following me around? And then she showed me a photo on her phone that she took of me at an opera about a year ago, with me not knowing I was being photographed. And I thought, it should be me, shouldn't it, saying, are you following me around? It's a very interesting thing to do.
Yeah. Fancy seeing you here in your bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. But it's very weird that a photo... I always think all my best photos, I don't know I'm being photographed.
Yes.
Oh, was the opera one a particularly... Did you ask for a copy?
I didn't. That wasn't one of the best. I was just looking at my phone, like pre-opera. There used to be a man who used to stand in my road behind a tree and take paparazzi shots of me every morning. This was in the white heat of my
I remember
celebrity.
those days, yeah.
And he did that for about 3 weeks, just taking loads of photos. And then one day he gave me his business card. Said, if ever you want any of these.
Really?
He didn't suggest they were free.
No. No, God forbid.
Oh, the tree photographer guy. What happened to him?
Frank, I need to tell you about some shows I've seen.
Yes.
Because I've been sampling Edinburgh's wares while I've been here.
Okay.
I'm in and out, but I came down up, I apologise, yesterday with Ray, and on the train, Ray caused such a sensation.
Ray, in case you're new, is Emily's dog.
Yeah. He was walking up and down. He was getting applause.
Was
They were
he?
shouting it in. They were going, Raymond! Honestly.
Really?
Applause breaks.
Yeah.
It's not even up at the Fringe.
That's...
It's not even doing a work in progress show.
I remember
on
Jimmy
5
Carr
stars.
telling me... Jimmy Carr said I did a charity event for Bruce Springsteen in America. And I
I
got...
think Bruce is doing all right, Jimmy.
Yeah, no, I think it was
Please give
organised by him.
generously.
And he said I got 14 applause breaks.
Oh, come on.
And all I'm thinking is, I'll accept that you got 14, but who counts them? Who is that person who got, the clicker in the hand?
Like a bouncer.
Wow, yeah.
Also, I think we need to establish some sort of international exchange rate between American applause breaks and British ones.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
having, as you know,
It's
the
like
other
dog
night-
years. He got 2. He got 2 applause breaks in the UK.
At best, they're like Zimbabwean dollars over there.
Yeah. That's a very Pierre Novelli comparison.
Only Pierre. One woman did say, though, what did you think of this, guys? I wanted to run this past you. As a potential opener when you're meeting someone, she went to stroke him and then she paused and she said, is it nice?
Oh.
At first I was a bit offended and then I thought, actually, that's a reasonable question
It
to
is.
ask. And I think
It
if
is.
someone, for example, if I introduced Frank to someone, I said, this is Frank Skinner, and they said, is it nice?
Yeah. I'd
would
be okay with that.
I would say it's not only nice, it's a master craftsman.
Oh, yes. Well, there you go.
What do you think that's a
I
reasonable...
tell you what I've learnt from people approaching my own dog is the back of the hand. You give the dog the back of the hand first and it's non-threatening. And they have a sniff at that, and then you can gradually turn the hand and do the little tickle under the chin.
It's quite regal, isn't it?
I do that with
It is.
humans.
Yeah, but for some reason, they're not threatened by the back of the hand, whereas, in actual human terms, they say, yeah, I'll give him the back of my hand. But, I've never slapped. You wouldn't slap a dog like that.
No.
For insolence.
For any reason, can we just clarify?
No, I'd never. Or maybe, I don't know if it was hysterical. And I was in a black and white British movie from the 50s. I might have to slap its face. People got so slapped about in those movies if they got hysterical.
But for a very low bar of hysteria as well.
Yeah,
someone would go, well, that's terrible. And they'd go, now see here, calm down.
Yeah, well, pull yourself together, why don't you?
Sometimes you get like 3 or 4 real quick ones. They haven't waited to see if the hysteria's dipped after the first
I
one.
suspect there was no stunt person either.
No, that's a person who's just been waiting for an opportunity.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Boys, can I tell you about a seance I went to yesterday in Edinburgh?
A seance? Was it for someone's career?
A Victorian type seance. I mean, is there any other kind, really? I don't even know if people still have them.
I
these
don't know
days.
much about the ages of seances through the ages. Have they changed much?
Well, the one I went to yesterday, it's called Seance. Keep it simple, everyone. It's in a shipping...
They had a massive one at Tottenham Hotspur's football. Oh, no, that was Beyonce. Beyonce, I get mixed up. Sorry, carry on.
I don't think I can.
Okay.
There's a big sign outside. It's in a shipping container, and I like that.
Oh, yeah, one of those.
So it's one of those 20-minute shows.
Oh,
Again,
is it really?
love that. Go in, immersive. Before you get too excited, I worry for you, but we'll get to that. It's a bit
Okay.
of a fright fest, Frank.
Yes, I can't cope with the macabre.
20 minutes, though. Pop in, chat to the dead.
Yeah,
Although-
but
Well, that's why I wouldn't
Yeah,
worry
but
about
do
Pierre.
they stay in the container? That's what worries me. Or do they drift home after you?
Also, the trouble is, because of all their cumbersome clothes throughout the ages,
Yes.
it just gets a bit hot and uncomfortable, and their ruffled blouses and...
I thought they were naked.
No,
This is
they're
my
not. We've
problem.
established this,
My
Frank.
problem with ghosts. That how does how does a 1987 M&S blue nylon cardigan live on?
Well, the seance, you get into the shipping container. There's about 12 or 13 of you. I imagine it's probably
Yeah.
13. And you're sat, there's a long white dining table.
Yes.
Or there's a tablecloth on it. And you put the headphones on and the lights go off.
Headphones.
Headphones. Goes pitch black.
Oh, that doesn't that allow
Ghost
for
FM.
skullduggery?
Wow.
Surely.
You suddenly hear a man in your ear, and he's saying, I told you to put your hands on the table. It's your fault. It's your fault. And I, for some reason, instinctively, sort of shouted, I am putting them on the table. I goes in there, and I could feel the man next to me shuffling with embarrassment.
Because he hadn't.
Well, he'd probably heard me say that. I don't think you're meant to shout out and respond.
Do you remember that moment on? They had a Michael Jackson séance on one of the shows, and one of the guys trying to contact him was a Michael Jackson impersonator.
This is Derek Acora, by the way,
Yeah,
wasn't
Derek Acora. And this guy had turned up in the full Michael Jackson thing he wears on stage. And there's a bit said that we need to put our hands on the table. And he's sort of closer with the hands going to the centre of the table. And one comes in a white sequin glove. Oh, well, this sounds already terrifying.
Yeah. But the Tam O'Shanter's come in, hasn't it?
The Tam O'Shanter has
Yeah.
come in, but we'll...
I mean, not into the seance.
No, interestingly, Tam O'Shanter, of course, the Robert Burns poem is all about a drunken man going past the church and seeing ghouls dancing in the night, and they follow him. It's a winner.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Pierre Novelli. Text the show on 81215. Follow us on X and Instagram. I still can't say it with a straight face.
None of us can.
At Frank on the radio. Email via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. We're mid-seance.
I'm in.
I'm already frightened. Just the idea of this freaks me, I must
With
say.
the headphones and things.
Just anything. Just being in a container trying to contact the dead.
Do you know, as I was in the shipping container with the headphones on, hearing strange things.
Put your hands on the table.
It's not unlike this radio show in many ways.
Yes.
But I did think of you, Frank, and I thought, not one for Frank, this.
No.
And I thought, this is, Pierre, you could handle yourself. I think he'd remonstrate with them and say, look, mate, this is a joke's a joke. You're frightening people now.
The only way I'm ever going to get to a seance is from the other direction. Because I just thought of a gag. I thought of a really good gag in the other world, and I just,
Yeah.
Well, the
I
man...
need to share.
Start flickering light bulbs and stuff.
Yes, the light was a bit... It was quite troubling because the man's voice gets more persistent and louder. Again, not unlike this radio show.
No.
But he hisses, and then it's very personal because you've got the headphones on, and he says, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. You've made this happen. And there's whooshing. I mean, I don't want
I'm
to...
trying to avoid that for the month I'm away from home.
And like just having your Bluetooth in. So I was getting very frightened.
Oh, you were? You admit it?
Yeah, I don't. You don't. What is
I
this?
thought-
Some strange law court?
No,
you
but
admit it, do you?
I thought you were pretty impervious to these.
Well, I am normally, but honestly, there was one point and there was creaking footsteps, like of a floorboard, and then glass shattering.
Do you get floorboards in a ship container?
No, but in my head, I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
in the shipping container.
I see.
And so I did, again, slightly embarrassingly, I did feel myself at one point go, "Ah!" I
really?
couldn't help it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, I hope other people were doing the same thing. But it felt, I was gripping on.
I don't understand the headphones, though. I thought it was like a communal thing.
Well, it is communal, but it's
It sounds like a sort of immersive experience.
it's immersive. So the idea there is that it's
Oh, okay.
atmospheric. If we had some old actor sort of wandering up and down, it's not going to be the same because I'll be looking at his shoes and I'll just be thinking, no, you're not. I'm not in a Victorian seance. Whereas this, it allows you transport yourself.
But what else? What do you? Are you asked if you want to contact someone or any of that
Yes,
stuff?
they
You are.
mention names and
Okay.
they say, "Do you know someone called Matthew?"
Yes.
And I say, "No."
yes.
And I hear other people say, yes, I know a Matthew. And I keep saying no.
I'll tell you, a guy told me he saw one in Leicester, and he said he was struggling. He was going, "No, G. There's a G in the Graham. Is it not? Nobody in the order." Eventually, he was going, "D. I got the letter D. I think Dad." And now that you are really desperate when you've got to Dad.
Yes,
I could do that act.
that's very Acorian. I
Yeah.
should say that they go. I don't want to spoil it for people, Frank, which is why I'm being a bit sort of vague about it. But what I would say, I think you would find it frightening. However, you would love it, I think, Pierre.
Do you think?
Well, it's...
He'd be very analytical, wouldn't he, Pierre?
Well, there's slightly...
think you'll find that's the
Yeah,
wrong
exactly.
dialect for this.
Ruin it for everyone.
And also, if I went to a shipping container, I want us all to sit around and say, I think Britney Spears should go out with Harry Styles.
I'm going to describe it.
Shipping!
Oh, I love it. Oh, Frank, it's so modern.
No, I did that because I could see Faye
I
wasn't
know.
laughing. I thought she needs a footnote.
Oh. I'm going to describe it as exhilarating, fascinating, a little bit spooky.
Can I ask you one question without spoiling it?
Yes.
Did you see anything? You don't
What,
have
in-
to say what it was, but did you see anything that might have been supernatural?
I might have. I might have actually got a hint of something.
Okay.
Or it was my watch. I'm
Did
not
it
sure.
involve bedclothes?
It wasn't Scrooge in a nightcap.
No, I'm thinking of the sheet over the, the old sheet over
Did
there.
I see the Reebok trainer poking through?
The ruined sheet with the 2 eye holes.
The Reebok trainer is exactly it. Like you're
It
saying,
is.
We always talk. You're on the ghost train. You're trying to get involved, and then you see the glimpse of the Reebok trainer.
I know. It is very earthly, the Reebok trainer. Way too earthly.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had Colonel Spud, who's one of our regulars.
Oh, Colonel Spud. Is that is that the Colonel Sanders in his earlier vegetarian phase?
I'll tell you what it is. It's a collab between KFC and Spud You Like, I think.
Spud You Like.
Do you remember Spud You Like?
I would say I hadn't had a jacket potato for 10 years. And I went on holiday to...
Great start.
Yeah.
yeah.
To Bury St Edmunds, it is, yeah. I feel that there are some statistics that sums a man up. And that's what. My problem is I started microwaving them rather than ovening them for speed. And I don't like the sinuous base.
I
that
don't like
you
the
get.
wrinkly layers.
Honestly,
either.
I could have cut the bottoms off those microwave jacket potatoes and used them as coasters.
And you would.
Yeah, even in my outdoor furniture, they still wouldn't have perished in the weather.
Sort of early man coaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was in the Bury St Edmunds. I went to a cafe and then got anything I liked, and I thought, oh God, I'll have a jacket potato, and it was absolutely fantastic. I was away for 6 days. I had 5 jacket potatoes in various venues.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just thought, this is, man.
What a day.
Since I got back, I haven't had one.
So it's just a Bury St Edmunds treat for you.
I forgot how brilliant. They are brilliant when they're done without the sinuous base.
What are you when you don't cook them?
Yeah, well, I could do them in the oven. I once had a strange 4-pronged thing that looked a bit like something you might dry very small washing on. And you put a potato on each spike, and it made them, because the whole frame got hot.
Are you
it would
familiar
cook
with
them.
these? My mother used to. It was a large spike medieval torture instrument.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I see. So because the metal getting hot is it within the potato?
Yeah, exactly. It was an early shot.
Whoa, Frank, we're not letting that pass. No, let's return to potatoes.
Just a bit of fun.
It was. It was an early shot at the microwave. The idea of heating from within.
potato.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has anyone, regarding Spud You Like, why oh why, I feel like no one really capitalised on the jacket tuxedo element. There's so
the
much
jacket
scope
potato.
there. You've got Colonel Sanders. Why didn't they have a black silk tuxedo over the potato? Don't you think it would have been a lovely marketing?
The truth is, the jacket potato is not a great name. That's why I think.
And the
It's a
potato
suit.
doesn't have a great physique.
It's a suit,
But they're
isn't
missing
it?
a chance to sort of, with a scalpel, one could fashion lapels from
No,
the...
but it's a
That
whole.
looks nice.
It's a whole suit. You would need one section of the potato to be peeled for it to be a jacket.
Also,
potato.
it's going to look a bit bodybuilder in a tuxedo.
Yeah, it is.
With that frame.
It's going to be a bit Daniel Craig
It's a bit
in a
Dan
suit.
Craig.
It's going to be England rugby team on
Yeah.
Sports Personality of the Year. It's going to be size 19 collar. It's going to have that look to it.
Tiny little Drew, despicable
How
me.
did we get on to jacket
we got onto
potato?
potatoes.
From seances,
we
of
got
course.
onto we got onto
course.
potatoes.
Well, they're all buried. Hold on, the Tam's out.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, you may recall we went off on something of a tangent.
You did.
How dare you? Proud to have, actually.
But
Because
Colonel Spud called us.
Colonel Spud didn't call us because potatoes can't use the phone. Colonel Spud messaged us and said, I hope you didn't swallow the old AULD Friar's Balsam, Frank.
Well, I certainly did.
We used to use it as an inhalation, having poured boiling water onto a dollop of the glue in a... Oh, I'm afraid
Oh,
it's-
my God.
yeah.
What? I used to just drink it off a spoon.
Yes. I'm afraid...
But anyway, here I am.
Well, what Colonel Spud poured it into, I would have to check with the producer whether I'm allowed to even mention this implement, but it's used by students a lot for recreational purposes, OK? I
Oh,
won't-
traffic cone.
No. I think people will know.
Of a kind.
Yes.
By the way, I walk around Edinburgh and think, yeah, we've seen the traffic cone on the statue's head joke now.
Yeah.
Relax with it.
Did
Sorry.
everyone do traffic cone as a student? Did you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we
did.
I don't know if we had traffic cones when I was a student.
What did you have, horse and
the
cart?
horses were alarmed. But there's still up here, every statue's got a traffic cone hat, and you think, oh, really?
Did you put a man with a big red flag on top of statues?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did in 1917 when we were there in St. Petersburg. Sorry, carry on.
Colonel Spud then continues, it's since been banned as carcinogenic. So
Has it
no
really?
surprise there. And then,
Almost everything I ate as a child has been banned for some health reason.
yeah,
Raw sausages now. When's the last time you saw kids on public transport eating a raw sausage?
I'd assume it was some sort of performance art.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
got to say, I don't recall the sort of halcyon days of come and eat your raw sausage, children.
I can still remember
Sort of thing a witch would say.
sliding the finger and thumb up the skin of the sausage to get the last bits of raw meat out.
Honestly.
That's something from
We didn't know.
memoir of a goblin of some kind.
I'd read that book.
I'd read the memoir of a goblin. Actually, you probably did read it in your fantasy.
In my study.
Oh, see, I
days.
bet you've read a few of those. Is there I'd like the author photograph of the
Yeah.
goblin, Frank.
Yeah, turtleneck, pipe,
Yeah,
Yeah.
goblin off duty, maybe.
Yes.
contemplative goblin.
With a black polo neck.
Yeah, looking out for a park.
And just in this, Colonel Spud signs off with this absolutely, I mean, this is life-changing, this piece of news. P.S., with one P.S., Colonel Spud has changed, I mean, it's Colonel's Pud.
Colonel's Pud.
I'm sticking with Spud.
So there's an apostrophe in the...
Yeah. I
Okay.
can't really talk about it. It's really upset me.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm edgy about it.
Also, Rob Davenport has got in touch. I've asked AI for an image of Frank doing magic. I will be sharing
Oh.
that with the world shortly.
I must try one of these things that people say to me. I asked AI for a giant monkey on the front of a building, and it just sent me.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't need one of those. I went to House of Oz. Have you been there in this festival? And
What's
it's
that?
it's got the best signage I've ever seen, like a giant monkey on the front of the building. I'm going to put a photo up.
Part of
And
my,
I tell you what, I saw the listies there. They were the best children's act in the world. And the whole finale was about the undulating giants. You know, the things we've been talking about. It was, they dressed up as them. They had about 3 on stage.
I saw them flying, and I initially I thought there's an undulating giant, but
Yeah.
then I saw human legs underneath.
Yeah, they dressed us on. We're talking about those things that car dealerships have, that hot air is fired through them, and they're like tall men.
Yeah.
I toyed with the idea of, when I become old and lonely, of having one of those, and also a fire, where the flames of those things from air beneath as well, just orange and linen, yellow linen. That's my dream.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
In terms of spectacles we have witnessed at the Fringe, I was taken along by a friend of mine to see a Norse mythology themed wrestling evening.
Oh, okay. I think I might have seen them out on the street, looking Norse.
Yeah, Mythos Ragnarok is what it's called.
Is that excellent?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very it's proper wrestling. I mean, they've got
So it sounds so like Disney made up language in
Yeah.
a fantasy film.
Well, Ragnarok's a real thing.
I've heard of that.
It's very real, especially if you go see this. You'll come out believing.
So what happens?
So they've got it set up like a proper, WWE wrestling show with the sort of the special floor, that you can slam people on.
Yeah.
And all the big platform and things. And
a ring, do you mean?
it's sort of a raised cube. It's in an enormous old church, so it's very atmospheric and spooky.
Right, okay.
I wouldn't approve of wrestling in the church.
Oh, well, I don't know. I think I seem to remember that. Who was it that wrestled an angel for about an hour?
Oh, there was one, wasn't it?
Is it Michael?
Very specific, an hour.
I remember, yeah. Anyway, that happened. Well, it did in our house.
So I went along obviously thinking this is something that I studied or studied to an extent. What I would do and what I'm
wrestling?
expecting. Yeah.
You did a degree in wrestling. I don't know if we... No, so you... yes.
I have a BW, a Bachelor of Wrestling. And I went and I thought, well, what I would do, because some of the mythology can be quite, fiddly and elaborate. And I thought, well, they're going to cut it right down. They're going to simplify.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get on with the wrestling.
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong. The guy, I'd met the guy who directs and writes the whole and stages the whole thing afterwards and chatted to him. My word, a loyalty to the original Snorri Sturluson texts that would put a smile on the face of the most pedantic academic.
Oh, that sounds great.
It was brilliant.
I thought it was just going to be some dressing for a wrestling match.
Dressing for Wrestling.
Yeah.
Good album.
Yeah.
No, I thought so. I thought even if they go a bit detailed, they're not going to go beyond the big hitters. You've got your Odin, you've got your Thor,
You're Loki.
Loki. He's there, but
Yeah.
no, they start from the very beginning where Odin is a sort of undergod and has to establish himself.
Odin origin story.
Fantastic.
I'm here for
that
that.
sounds brilliant.
Yeah, highly recommended. And my God, there's an enormous man. A couple of them.
Well,
but-
that was you.
Well, I think,
No,
yeah.
I was there like in proportion. I looked like an enthusiastic 10-year-old.
Did you not feel you were with your
Gosh.
people?
No, these are true giants.
I think I saw one of these men in the street. He did look absolutely
Did he?
enormous. Yeah.
Yes, there's one who I chatted to afterwards.
He looked like if it got really hot, you could sit in the shade of his of his breast muscles.
I've done that with the world's strongest men, as you know.
I bet you have, yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I mean,
What else have you done with them?
Well, I'll tell you off there.
Okay.
But these are what I call toilet breakers.
Yes, yes. As
Oh, I
opposed
see.
to like a toilet break.
No, because they do break toilet seats.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But it
sheer
sounds.
density.
So there's plenty of myth in it.
oh, they're declaring all the complicated from the milky breath of the first man did spring. That they really go
man.
for it. Yeah.
I think you'd like
It
that.
makes a
Frank.
change from ask him ref, ask him, which was the wrestling I saw as a boy. No, no. That's all I ever remember any of them saying. Though I did see Miss Cleopatra fight and in Birmingham and at the.
Who's Miss Cleopatra?
It was a wrestler.
Oh.
And at one point, Miss Cleopatra said, "Well, I mean, he's cheating me. I mean, he's just cheating all the time." I thought, what part of Egypt does that accent come from? But no, I used to be a live wrestling enthusiast.
Oh, I think you'd love this. Watching Loki absolutely slam a frost giant into the decking.
But he is a frost. He's part frost giant, isn't he?
Oh, will they deal with all the lineages?
Okay, lovely. You sold it to me.
Yeah.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, you were talking about sausages,
Yes.
specifically the uncooked variety,
Yes.
which you were a huge fan of. as
Well,
a
I
child.
wouldn't do it now, and I wouldn't give them to my own child. But when I was a child, we used to eat raw sausages as one would eat a
Solero.
Solera. Yeah.
What about when your Terry came home and your dad said he'd changed because he bought toothpaste?
I know. Well, he bought a toothbrush.
He bought a toothbrush.
Which we all gathered round.
And what did your dad say again? He said he's changed now.
Yeah, we've lost him.
That
That was what he said.
The bright lights. The bright
man.
lights. So Jill has got in touch. She's from West Brom. Of
Okay.
West Brom. Jill of West Brom,
Yeah.
she says, which I like in a slightly Chaucerian way.
Yeah.
There's nothing like raw sausage.
See, it must be a Midlands thing. I don't know if we had gas in the 70s.
I suspect you did.
We did after we ate those
I was going to
sausages.
say, Dark Heath did. My mum never cooked a full pack of sausage, as I'd been at all 8 of them.
Yeah.
When I lived in Wednesbury, I also invented sushi. Extraordinary.
Really?
As we used to have cod on a Friday.
I don't think it was a Wednesbury cuisine.
And I was also compelled to cut small pieces off from the cod to eat without cooking them first.
I believe when West Bromwich Albion formed, they had to walk to Wednesbury as a team to buy a football because that was the nearest available football. Anyway, that's that. So we should, speaking of football, we should again say, of course, it is the World Cup final, which is very, very exciting. And there's talk that if Gareth Southgate resigns, Serena Wiegmann might get the job. Why? Why would she want that? Yeah, let's go to a
Why
team.
on earth would you want that
Let's
job?
go to a team whose less success was less recent than Sergeant Pepper's. Why would you do it? Well, of
say
course,
that.
there is one reason she might do it, and that is that apparently Serena gets $400,000 a year, which is obviously great money, but Gareth gets $4 million for the same job.
Do you think that she would be able to sort of quite smugly say, if, it comes home, she can say, well, I've done that. I've won the biggest thing, so now it's time to take on a sort of fixer-upper team.
Yes.
And do what I can.
Yeah, maybe, but I think the idea of going to a lesser team is a strange thing.
But then, you know what, Frank? 30 years of hurt never stopped me dreaming. Could you get me a cab back to Richmond, dear?
So look, yes, we continue to be in Edinburgh next week. I think me and Pierre were talking about the fact that we can't remember anything about home.
No.
We've always
all.
been here, Mr. Torrance.
Exactly.
Can I please tell people to see a great thing called Grown Up Orphan Annie? I'm not being paid. I just loved it, and it's one for Frank OFF.
Well, Annie is perhaps my favourite musical.
Also, it's
the
about
original.
a washed-up child star
Star.
taken financial advantage of by her parents.
Really?
Imagine.
Oh, it's all a bit Gary Coleman. The next episode of Frank Skinner's Poetry Podcast. Frank Skinner's Poetry Podcast, did you say? I like it. Thank you, Jerry, for your support. We'll be out on Wednesday. It's about Percy Bysshe Shelley. And I reveal in there the first time I ever came across Shelley's poetry. It was being read out loud on stage by Mick Jagger. He is dead, he doth not sleep, he hath awakened from the dream of life.
Keith Richards.
Yeah, he hasn't awakened yet. So you can download that from wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening to us this morning. We love you all. And if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. This time. We'll be back. We'll be back this time next week. You'll get your tutti frutti ice cream. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.